everybody. Welcome to Busy Living Sober. Busy Living Sober. Busy Living Sober. And it's episode 244 today. You're my first guest back, Kim Bellis. I haven't had a guest on since January.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm honored.
Well,
I'm
I'm
honored.
excited because sober is the new cool. That's
Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Yeah, I've thought it was cool for a really long time myself. I want to hear because it's interesting. Your son was got seizures. Why did he have seizures?
We from one day to the next, we don't know. He was playing football, so obviously we imagined it was a football injuries, even though he was the one hitting people. He never got hit. He was a big, strong kid. I mean, everybody thought like this kid's going far in football. Like he was just like a little dynamo. He loved it. It gave him his self esteem, everything. And from one day to the next, our lives just went so lousy. Like he just got a seizure. And at the first time, they thought, oh, kids can get that, hormone when the hormones start to kick in too much. He was 13 and he had one. Then about a month and a half later, he got a second one, and we had about seven. And they were the big grand mal seizures. So, yeah, it
What
was.
does that mean? Will you
It,
explain to us, the listeners who don't know in layman's terms, what does that mean?
well, a regular seizure, some people can have seizures and they just kind of zone out for a few minutes. And you'd just think they were daydreaming. So life continues. And most people, a lot of people, can live like a very normal life and have minimal medication. My son, on the other hand, when he has a seizure, he'll faint, drop to the floor. His arms, legs, they go into convulsions, and his eyes roll in the back of his head. And then when he comes out after about 2 minutes, it's like he doesn't know what's happened. He's like a raging bull. Like he just wants to get everything and everybody away from him. And it's like trauma to the brain every time he has one. So, yeah. So, as a kid that was playing football 5 nights a week, couldn't ride a bike, couldn't play basketball, football, soccer. Like there was nothing. There was just like, and we were afraid. And medicine takes a long time to find which one works. So then all of a sudden we got about 2 years seizure free, and life was kind of not normal, but I was telling him, okay, you've got to get back, go see your friends, do this. And he'd go an hour after he'd get there, he'd call me and say, Mom, come and get me. So the third time I said, okay, something, this is not good. So I went downstairs and I said, Matthew, what is this? Like, what's going on? And he said, Mom, everybody's getting bombed. They're drinking beer. They're having fun. I can't be like everybody else. And I started to say to him, oh, come on, Matthew, you don't need booze to have fun. And as I said it, I had this huge glass of wine in my hand. And I thought, you were such a hypocrite. So it started off like it was like, okay, I'm going to stop drinking for 3 months. And I used to drink like wine every day and have a vodka martini and whatever. Not nobody would think I had a drinking problem. And after 3 months, he said, you see, now you can be like everybody else again. So I said, no, I'm going to do another 3 months. And then I realized I'm sleeping better. I mean, I was a nervous wreck having a child where you don't know if they're going to get sick or whatever. And so my anxiety level was better. I started to exercise and just everything was better. Like it was just my skin looked better. I looked a bit younger and I felt so much better. And for some reason, I think when I used to drink, it was kind of like liquid courage. I'd be able to say to somebody if they pissed me off or, I was irritated or whatever. And then I had to learn how to kind of communicate. And I never had to say, I'm sorry for the way I said something, because whatever I said, I said it and I meant it. And it wasn't because I'd been drinking. And then his friends started coming around and he'd say, you can't bring liquor here. My mother stopped drinking for me. And then I realized, okay, this is, I just have to stay doing this. And then I realized people would say to me, oh, come on, you could just have one drink with me. Come over here. Nobody will know. I won't tell anybody. Your son won't know. Your husband won't know. Your other son won't know. And I said, I'll know. I said, no, I can't. And then I realized if it's so hard for me going out socially, and it was, people would say, what do you mean you don't drink? I didn't know you had a drinking problem. Or like these judgmental things, or white wine, red wine, a vodka. Do you want this? Are you on a diet? Are you depressed? Like it was just endless. And I thought, okay, I've got to do something for my son because I'm old enough that I can kind of like wiggle my way around these situations. But for someone that their whole life has been turned upside down, I said, no, I got to figure something. So Sober's the New Cool was born. When I told people about it, they said, oh my God, this will never work. Sober and cool in the same sentence. And there's no way. People are just going to laugh at this. So I said, wow. I said, we used to drink and drive when we were growing up. The kids today don't. So I said, there is like there's a wave coming. And I said, no, I'm going to stick with this. And then we kind of like shifted gears a touch saying, okay, you could be the designated driver. So Sober's the New Cool for that evening. You could be cool. And then we figured, okay, if somebody stops drinking for a day, a week, a month, a year, we'll have succeeded, right? And then this movement we started an Instagram page. I didn't know what I was doing, a Facebook page. And all of a sudden, all these people from the young girls to mothers, fathers, grandmothers just started contacting me and saying, wow, first of all, how come you stopped drinking for your son? They couldn't believe that. And I said, well, I think I realize now drinking is just not for me. It was never my friend. I didn't have the energy. I was depressed more often than not. I didn't want to exercise. It just was, let's do a diet. Oh, can we have wine on it? Like there's a bit of an issue when you start doing things like that. So I just figured, you know what? I'm just so much happier doing it like this. And people just started telling us their story. And it just turned into this movement of all kinds of people from all over the world. Like, quite honestly, I have more people in Europe and in the United States than in Canada. And I'm doing this 8 years. Finally, Canadians are starting to realize I'm Canadian. I don't know how come they never knew that before. But so here we are. And we're just, loving life. And my son now is finally 3 years seizure free. He had never been on the right medicine before. But life is still hard. And, if he would drink, which he had in the past, done a few times, he ends up back in the hospital. So alcohol that's just not a way of life for him. So it's not a way of life for me either anymore. And that's just it. We're good.
So, and now to ask, I'm going to get into some questions. So would you say you were an alcoholic when you were drinking previously, or do you think you were a heavy drinker?
You know what? I don't think I don't know, because alcoholic to me is if you have 3 and you can't really stop at 3. And I would have that 4th one. What did I need the 4th one for? I was watching TV. Do you know what I mean? And everything that went around with it, for me, I just think, I guess I don't like the label thing because for me, I know I drank way too much looking back. And now I know I'll never miss another memory. And I did miss memories. So does that qualify?
Did you black out?
No. I wasn't like falling down. I was like the party girl, fun, whatever. But I wasn't fun. I wasn't happy inside. I never felt like I was enough. I always felt that I was more fun when I drank. I was more at ease. I had more self-confidence. So why did I needed that to make myself feel like I could be something. And now I think I'm so much more than then,
Yeah. Because busy living sober, my story is that I was I'm an alcoholic. So I started drinking at 13. I didn't stop drinking till I was 37. I've been sober for 15 years. but I do a 12-step program. I mean, for me, I have one, and they call it a phenomenon of craving. So when I have one, I want another one, and I want another one. And it's something that you can't really control. It's like, if you've ever like said, I'm only going to have one Oreo, and you have 20, or
Yeah.
I'm going to have one Dorito and I have 20, right? So it's the same sort of deal with the alcohol for me, right?
Well, I think for me, there must have been some sort of issue because I won't, whenever it comes up, like if the kids are going to, say, when I get married, will you have a glass of champagne? I just can't. I cannot take that chance. So I must have had that fine line, no matter what. But I am all or nothing. If I do a diet, it's like that. If I exercise, it's like that. So I think the probability, I would probably go back to being the way I was before. And I just won't, I don't want to take that chance.
I love that. I love that. And what about your husband?
He drinks. And sometimes I don't like it so much. But you know what? I can't control everybody around me. And I was lucky in the way that I would say 99% of my friends stuck by me. There were a few that don't really like going out with me anymore because I think they feel uncomfortable with me not drinking. That happened in the first year. I found there was a lot of situations where, not that I was left out, but you could tell people were definitely not comfortable. Like they would watch how much they drank in front of me or say, oh no, I don't feel like it. There was just, you could tell there was something it wasn't the same as before.
Well, I really always say, how they say the Grim Reaper, he comes in and he takes bodies. I'm like, so the Grim Reaper goes into the old age home, right? And everybody's like, ah, like I feel like when I walk into a party, because everybody knows I'm sober. I mean, everybody that's around me, I'm just because I'm busy living sober, right? So everybody knows that. So when I come to a party, and somebody asked me just recently, they said, what is it? What do you say how do you make people feel comfortable? And I found that a very interesting question. And how do you make people feel comfortable being around you when you go to a dinner party? For me, I don't care. Like, I'm like, whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And that's how I am now. Like at the beginning, 8 years ago, I felt like I had to explain the story every time I went somewhere and to this day, I when I'm introduced to different people, I get, I'm just going to turn that off for some reason it's going on. I see people and they kind of, they get like, they don't know what to do, what to say. And so I would explain this whole story about Matthew. And it was just like, and then I thought, why am I explaining anything? I don't need to explain anything. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. Like, nobody asks me why I don't do that. So, and then I just kind of started laughing about it. And then I guess my way is just like, okay, I'll have a Perrier and I just leave it at that. And, the other day we were somewhere, it was somebody's 60th birthday, and somebody had brought bubbly to watch the sunrise. And, it's quite something because they gave the plastic champagne flutes and I took one and another girl took one that I didn't know very well. And I could see right away, she was like, the body changed. And I said, hey, wait a minute, girls, I got to get my water out of the car because I want to cheers also. And the other girl said, oh my God, can I come and get some too? And so then I gave her some of the water. And so then afterwards she said, hi, what do you say to people because you don't drink? And I said, well, for me, it's, I said, I'm just never going to miss another memory. Like this is going to be, I'm just going to remember this every single moment of this, where if I'd been drinking, I wouldn't, I'd say, oh, let's have some more champagne. Let's be more like fun and bubbly and whatever. And she was grateful because she didn't know a lot of people and she's been sober 2 years and didn't know how to deal with that situation. She thought, I don't know what she thought, if she was going to just hold the glass with the champagne in it, or she, but you could. So I guess now I don't even really, I think it's so obvious. And now most people see sober as the new cool. So they all kind of, I think at first they kind of thought it was a fad. And now they realize it's far from a fad, and I'm sticking with it. And you know what? I'm just happy, and I don't feel uncomfortable when people drink too much. I leave earlier than before, I think, because I get a little, I was probably the same, always telling the same story over and over, right? And so I'm glad I'm not that person anymore.
Well, you're authentic, right? You're authentic. You own it. And I think that's something that's missing from the sober culture because it was something for so long that you had to be ashamed of, right? I mean, I know for me, because of the alcoholic, thing that I am, because I'd have one and then I'd have 47 and I wouldn't remember where I put my car. And then, people hear that word and it just makes them go, I don't like that word. And it brings shame right away. Shame. And that woman that probably walked up to you felt that shame that you feel like, because I had to give up this thing that socially everyone thinks is like everybody needs it.
Well, the other thing is, what I started to say a few years back when people would ask me, are you an alcoholic or whatever? And I'd say, what difference does it make? Do you think I'm a shopaholic? And then they'd laugh. And I said, oh, see, you think that's funny. And then they would kind of like say, oh, I never really, and I said, to me, alcohol, I mean, we've had problems with alcohol in our family in the past. And for me, I think that alcohol or any addiction basically is just a band-aid to something else, a sadness or a tragedy or something that you feel like you're missing something in your life. And that's what the band-aid is, the alcohol, the drugs. And I really believe that mental health and alcoholism or drug addiction or any addiction, whether it be cutting, anorexia, there's so many addictions that for me, you know what? That's why I think the label thing bugs me, because I did shop too much also when I would drink. You'd spend more money. It was like easier to spend somehow. And that I had no shame in. So what difference does it make?
It doesn't matter.
No, and there should be no shame, whether, you have anxiety or you're depressed or you're an alcoholic or you're a drug addict. And one of the things I just did on Instagram was, nobody wakes up in the morning saying, I want to be a drug addict or an alcoholic or depressed, to have mental health issues. So, you know what? Stop talking about it and go and help somebody instead of judging somebody, And I really do feel that. I really think the world needs a lot of love and not so much judgment. And, we'd be a lot better off.
I agree 100%, Kim. And you talked about two things that I want to go back to. One is being in the family, that it is a family disease. And I'm sure in your 8 years, it's in my 15 years, there's not one person I meet that doesn't say, my cousin, my uncle, my aunt, my neighbor, somebody that's in their little bubble of life has been affected by alcoholism.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So why is there so much shame? We need to change that. And I love that you just mentioned not judgment. And I want to talk about something that I think is so important. And I'm a mom too. So I have 3 children. Now they're 25, 24, 23, and 21. But when I raised them, majority of the time I was sober. And I think that when you were talking about when Matthew came in and he said, Mom, everybody's doing this. I don't feel like I fit in. And I mean, that I just have to say, for one, kudos to you. I mean, man, that's awesome that you said, you know what? I love you so much that I am not going to drink either. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes because we do. It's such, at least for me, even when I saw my parents, like when I saw my parents having parties and everybody had that pretty glass and that pretty dress on and they were laughing and dads looked so happy and moms were so gregarious. And so of course, all I wanted to do when I grew up was I wanted to drink, right?
Yeah.
And then Matthew comes home and says, Mom, that's what everybody's doing. And you're like, all right, I'm done. I'm stopping right now.
And I don't even know how that happened, because obviously I loved him more than I loved myself, because for so long before that, if it was a diet I needed to lose weight, I said, oh no, that one I can't have wine, forget it. So why did it that day, it was like there was no way I was going to have another drink. And it was hard the first year. I didn't go to a lot of restaurants because this restaurant was sushi and rosé. This restaurant was pasta and red wine. Like I had like all these triggers. And so I went, I got hypnotized. I figured I'll do anything, I'll try anything just to help, like this anxiety I was feeling. And it was like everything was upside down. Like my life was just, and I just knew I had to, and the more I went on, the better I felt. And the more I was able to cope with everything that was going on, and I was good up until year 6. Year 6 was the first summer, well, almost going into year 7. We decided to rent a house about an hour and a half away from where we live, because we did not go on vacation, my husband and I, and leave Matthew. One would stay home. I would go with my mother and my sister, whatever. We didn't. That was just too bad. That was our life. And that summer we decided he has the car where there would be no issues. He could drive and come and meet us here and there. And that whole summer was, every time I saw somebody with a glass of wine in their hand or a martini, I could have ripped it out of their hand. I had no control. I wasn't watching Matthew. I wasn't seeing everything he was doing from morning till night. And that was the hardest summer of this whole journey. And once it was over and I was home, I was okay. But I have an issue with the helicopter mom, I guess, like that control. So, I know now that this summer, if we do go do something, because we didn't last year with COVID, I'm prepared to have those feelings again, because I guess I am a bit of a control freak.
Well, it's I don't know if you know this, like one of the steps for Alcoholics Anonymous, for one, is like we're powerless, right? We're powerless over everything. Like I'm powerless over the first drink. And when you talk about your son, and like I mean, I swear I could cry like at any moment when you've been talking, like especially when you were talking about him like on the floor. I'm like, oh my God, my heart just went, oh, I can see, and the fear, right? Because this is your baby.
Yeah.
And see, like, look at me. I'm just getting like this.
And you can't fix it. You can't fix it.
No.
You can't fix it. So it's.
And to not, because so many people would say this fear is so much. Just give me a drink. I can't take it. This is just too overwhelming. It's just too much. It's just too much. Pass me a bottle of Chardonnay. I just need a Chardonnay, another Chardonnay, a dirty martini. Just get me whatever it was. Yeah. And then to say, you know what? I can't. I told him I'm not going to do this. And just to have those feelings and walking through them. And you had at least a little control over the fact that you were like, I'm not going to drink. If anything else, I'll do whatever it is, but I'm not going to drink. That if anything, I'm not drinking.
Yeah. And, I guess too, there was a doctor, and I love her. She was Dr. Michelle Larose. She gave us back our life. She was a psychiatrist in neurology. And at one point we did a lot of therapy because he was so depressed, and how could you not be, life changing like that. And she said to me at one point at the beginning, she said, oh my God, you're one of those working mothers. And I said, no, actually, I'm not. I'm home. The kids are always home. Their friends are always over. The barbecue's always going. The sleepover is at my house. And then I knew by the way she said it, I said, I'm missing something going on in my own house. Like, so that was like a bit of a slap. Mm-hmm. And then when he told me that he was just didn't fit in, I thought, okay, I have no control over his sickness. I can't make him better. So this is the only way I know how to support him. And in the end, I told him months later, I said, Matthew, as sad as I am that you got sick, you gave me the greatest gift in life, because I'm better now than I was at 40. Like I'm 60 years old, and it's incredible how much better my life is. So
Well,
you
you're
know?
beautiful. And I mean, to think that you've done this and and so this goes and you a portion of all the sales of your swag, your
Yeah.
t-shirts and everything else goes to the Douglas Foundation. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about the Douglas Foundation.
So the Douglas Foundation is in Montreal. They deal with mental health, Alzheimer's, schizophrenia. They're one of their mottos is let the brain heal.
Mm.
And they have 10,000 people from all over the world that come through those doors in a year in Montreal. Like they're world renowned for their, and I knew one of the mothers from, my husband, and she was in charge of this, raising money and doing events for different, their side is really about mental health and children and anxiety and depression. And seeing as we had done so much therapy, and by the time we'd find a therapist that clicked with, because that's part of the, you need that connection. I just realized, there's no there's no reason to be ashamed of being depressed or sad or angry, because anger is really just covering up the sadness that's inside. And I learned all these things, and I was able to talk about it. My husband, not so much at the beginning. He didn't like me talking about
Mm.
all these things. People would say, how's everything? Fine, everything's great. And it wasn't great. We were sad. And who wants your son not to be, and he felt football with his whole life. That's who he thought he was. And without football, he had lost his self-esteem. So the Douglas is just a wonderful foundation that helps people. And you go to an event there, people talk about suicide. People talk, like a stranger will walk up to you and say, oh, is your son suicidal, or your daughter, or do they have anorexia, or, do you have a parent that has Alzheimer's? Like, you think you're talking about the sun and the beach and the waves. Like, there's no issue. And I just love it. I love them. And I think that, the work they do is so important. And they're trying to end the stigma of mental health. And unfortunately, in Montreal, you can't say addiction and mental health, or else they don't get lots of funding from the government, because it's like separated.
Oh.
For me, being outside of their organization, I've chosen them as our fit, because I feel that for Matthew, he was very much like me, where he would be all or nothing. And I think the fact that we had to do all this therapy, and if he hadn't been sick, I think he would have probably been more like me, more of a partier and more than less. So I think both feet in kind of thing. So I think we're better off just being like this. And you know what? He now started talking, because that's the one slot we didn't have a lot of people talking to us about, were young guys. And I met these young guys called Not So Anonymous podcast from Arizona. And they asked me to be on their show. And when they found out about Matthew did the whole show. And you know what? I said, you see, you need to be able to talk to other guys like this. So when it's Epilepsy Day, we put out a big campaign saying, sober is, the new cool, and with the logo of epilepsy. But whether it's epilepsy or something else, it doesn't matter. Sober is the new cool. So he's now finding some kind of self-esteem by talking about helping other guys to say, okay, well, I can't drink, and why he can't drink. And like, that's not an option. There is no option. You can't, and that's it. So he's able to talk to young guys and say how he goes to a party and how he can enjoy himself without booze. So I think it's just helped heal him a bit.
Is he in is he in university now? How old is he now?
To 23, he'll be 24 in a month.
Okay.
So I have my oldest one's 26. No, university. He had in between. We have CEGEP, which is your a college, and then he started getting seizures again.
Oh.
So we stopped school for a bit. Then he went back to school. He got into a university, and after one semester, the seizures started on and off. And with the medicine, it's just one of the medicines to help him study, because the other medicine makes him like calm, like this, like, right. So then he doesn't want to listen. He's like kind of like a butterfly, like his mother. And so then, like, it just was like a bad circle. So now he's got a job, he's working, and we're 3 years seizure free in January. So now he's starting to see that, he could maybe do a real estate license, or he could do something else, and now he's learned that he can talk to other people and do podcasts or just as interviews and be a guest. And so the world is kind of opening up, finally. So I think we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And we're just going to continue, because they see, both my kids, how many people contact me on a regular basis on, just being lonely or sad, or, they have no one to talk to. And so they realize how important it is to be kind to others and to, help where you can. So that's what we're doing.
Well, Kim, I have to tell you, both your boys, especially Matthew, you didn't say your other boy's name. What's his name?
Jack.
Okay. But they're so lucky they have you as a mom, because you're just a rock star. Look at you. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you today.
I'm honored that you had me, because I think the world of you, honestly.
Thank you. And it is just to think that, Matthew had you as a cheerleader to stand by him and just say, you know what, I've got you, bud. I've got you no matter what. And, we all need somebody like that. And I love you talked about yourself as a butterfly, because a butterfly always changes, right? It changes, and it's beautiful. So people can find soberisthenewcool.com.
.com. Yeah.
.com, and buy your swag, and you're on all social media.
Yeah, it's at Instagram. So it's sober.is.the.new.cool. On Facebook, it's Sober is the New Cool. On Twitter, it's sober.itnc. And we're here, and we're happy to help wherever we can. And if we can, facilitate somebody from Phoenix having a therapist from another place in the country, we do that, because I'll ask people. A woman the other day asked me, she was from Africa, and she said, she was having trouble with her son. And I said, where do you live in Africa? I mean, who would even say that? She tells me, and I said, oh, I think I know somebody from Instagram that's there. And now he's connected. He's 27. So he's trying to help her with her son. So the world is a great place. So we just have to reach out and keep connecting. So
wait a minute. We got to back up a bus for 1 second. So do you have this resource for everyone to use?
Well, I mean, it's just like if they message me and say, they'll see a picture or a quote, and they'll write something, and then somehow I respond. And like that woman in South Africa, she just wrote something about her son, because she knew that I had stopped for Matthew. And then I wrote back, oh, I'm so sorry. And then for some reason, I just thought, okay, where do you live? Because with COVID and everything being closed, a lot of people that I know that are alcoholics couldn't go to their AA meetings.
Right.
So they were doing everything by Zoom.
Right.
So that way I got to, there's the Sober Sisters that are one's in North Carolina and one's in California. They do Zoom meetings different times of the day. There's people in Texas. There's people all over the place. So I guess I'm just lucky that I've met all these people. So I just kind of say, oh, well, you could go and do this, or you could do that. And this woman, because she was talking about her son, and I said, this guy, Chris Nell, I said, he lives in South Africa. And I said, I wonder if he lives where you live. So I just texted him while I was texting her. He said, yes, Kim, I'm about 20 minutes away. So his sponsor was helping him help her. And they're trying to get her son some treatment. So, it's just, yeah.
It's amazing. That is amazing.
That was really cool. Like my whole day was like made, I was like, yes.
That is just, and it's just you. It's just you doing your Instagram.
Yeah,
Good for you. Good for you.
I'm always on my phone. But you know what? Why not? We're doing good.
Exactly. I started a meeting during Zoom too.
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy.
And I find a lot of people are using WhatsApp. Like I have a young girl that I'm so fond of. She's like a daughter that I've never had. She's in London, England. And, just life is great. So we're just, she helps others and I've helped her. And I just feel like it's just like this nice, I just find the sober community, honestly, so creative. They're so authentic. They're so good and they're ready to help, And so, I mean, most of the ones I've met, 99% of them are so non judgmental. Like if somebody slips or makes a little oops, they're there to help pick up the pieces. And I mean, I'm just grateful that people share their stories and let me be part of their life. I really feel like that.
You exude love and compassion, and I love it. And I felt so honored that I got to meet you. We have to keep in touch. You're going to have to keep
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
And if Matthew ever wants to come on, you have to tell him he can come on. I'd love to have him on.
Well, he would love that. He would love that. And he's
well-
great. He really is. He's a great speaker.
All right. Well, awesome. When we go off here, we're going to pick a date and we'll put it on the calendar.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
been awesome. So everybody, you can find Kim on Sober is the New Cool on all social media. I'll have her links on Busy Living Sober on my website and on YouTube and on Spotify and on iTunes. And until next time, keep getting busy, living sober. Bye-bye, everybody. Mwah. Bye, Kim. Thanks so much.